basically take that word and flip it and make money off that. But then there's also those that are not going to receive the word. There's those that are just going to be, they're going to be off in the world doing whatever the hell, and they're gonna get fucked over. And then it's like, okay, well, you just say like, oh, well, that's not fair, but then these things are like, this is Yahweh Hashem Yahweh. It's strict. He's got it going down and it goes down, and that's how it was set. Because that's the same thing.
You read on because it goes into that. It says, verse 20. Nay, but O man, who art thou that replies against the Most High? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made it thus? Have not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? Was the Most High willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endowed with much long suffering to the vessels of wrath fit to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy which he had before prepared unto glory, even us whom he have called not the Jews only, but also the Gentiles. And that really goes into what the Gentiles need with those Israelites that lost, that where the heathen state of mind basically. A good precept for that is the book of Matthew 18, right? Because the book of Matthew 18 goes into basically dealing with a brother that's going off and basically going to him, you have an issue with him, going to him one-on-one and saying, look man, you did so and so wrong, so you need to, reproof basically. They don't hear it, then you bring 2 or 3 witnesses, and if they don't hear that, then you cast them out as evil, right? But that's the point, you cast them out as what? As an evil. So that's how a lot of, when they don't hear the church, what do you think they're doing? They're going against the laws, statutes, the commandments of the Heavenly Father. A good example of that is going into Greece, right? And you have new fellows that made a covenant with the Grecians, the Greeks, and they basically became Hellenized, all right? And in their Hellenization, they basically became as heathens, man. They set up a gymnasium, they started to worship Zeus, they ate pork, they made a fake foreskin to cover their private parts. So when they put them on show, they look like the heathen. So that's basically what happened, all right?
I've got a quick one.
But then,
First Samuel 15 and let's say 22. And Samuel said, "Hath the Most High as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahweh? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of Yahweh, he hath also rejected thee from being king." Yeah, that rebellion, going against the word, that's as the sin of witchcraft, and that's the main. That's why it's like for you to be going against the word, you're partaking in wickedness, right? And that's the same. It's like when you deal with these guys getting into witchcraft, they're basically trying to what? They're trying to achieve their own ends and means and bring about their own miracles, man. They're basically trying to bring the power and glory onto themselves, utilizing whatever means they go through. And that's pretty much the spirit of this whole world as well. The whole world is in a rebellious spirit.
As is the king, so is the subject, basically.
Yeah.
Everyone's basically participating in Esau's madness. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished.
Yeah.
So basically, you partaking in everything that's doing, you're gonna also get his same judgment. All right. But then even I wanna take it to like right now. What time are we in? Let me read this. It's the book of Revelation 11 and 7, or verse 8, sorry. It says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Alright? So as it tells you in the book of Proverbs 21:16, it tells you, he that walketh out the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. So basically, what's the way of understanding? The Heavenly Father's words, alright? When you move away from law, statutes, and commandments, you basically become a heathen, a dead man, alright? But then this is what's happened. It basically is just like the time of, the best way to put it into an allegory is basically dealing with Ezekiel, what's the chapter on the Valley of Dry Bones? Ezekiel 37, where you had the Valley of the Dry Bones, right? When you had the Valley of the Dry Bones, what basically happened now? You had Israel as dry bones, and you had Ezekiel being spoke to and saying like, look, can these dry bones live? Because those are basically the children of Israel that have wandered out of the way. Alright, but the Heavenly Father in this last days,
Ezekiel 37:1, the hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley which was full of bones and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, they were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. Yeah, they were dry. That's funny as hell, man. They were dry. But then that's why you see Jake's in that state, man. Jake's got bugged out. You got it's now I work. I'm seeing those suited and booted, clean shaven, basically trying to maneuver like straight Edomite Jakes. Them guys are dry as hell. Just as if you got a guy that's a crack addict out of his mind, like just on the streets eating out of dumpster. That guy is dry as hell. State. It's like if you ain't got a word, that's even
You don't mean
working, man. Moving around. It's a matter of if they got the truth or not. Because without the word, that's it. The congregation is dead. A dry as hell bone. You try and deal with that guy. You try and tell him certain things, or try and put him on a certain level. They're not gonna get it, man.
Well, I had one personally that flies around, is a high flyer in the way you're at. He basically told me, he said, look, that basically, and we spoke to him before, Quayback, remember me, you and Ramar. I'm not gonna say the Arab, we spoke to him, and Ramar was saying to me like, oh, you ain't even gonna tell him about the word. Like he wants it kind of thing. But I wasn't gonna give it to him. But anyway, man gave it to him, but you know, he still more or less went further and further into the world. But basically I bumped into him, started talking to him again. And he told me straight out, he said, look, I'm earning like 40K or the year, and you know, I've got good money or whatever where I'm working, but none of these devils respect me, man. They just look at me like a black slave, basically. And I told him like, bro, you gotta look for the Lord, man. But he didn't want to hear that. He was trying to find his own way to attain his kingdom within his realm, basically.
Yeah. He was looking for peace, man.
For his own righteousness.
He was looking for some form of salvation within this place. Yeah. But you've made a fatal error. Because this place ain't for salvation for Jake, man.
This is, and the Apostle did a video on it years ago, man. This place is basically a prison camp for the children of Israel, man. This is the place of our curse, right? Under the place of heaven, we'll see the place of judgment, right? Presently, as the saying goes, the white man's heaven is the black man's hell. We're in hell right now, all right? And we got to deal with it. As we read in the book of Micah, I've sinned against the Lord, so I'll bear his indignation. That's the level, man. Even though I was speaking to a relative yesterday, speaking to the same note, speaking the same tune. It was out of, listen, no matter which way you shave the cap, this is where it is. And that's what it's gonna be until you get out of there, man. Esau's gonna be the devil. I remember Elder Supper Rob said that. That's just how it's gonna be. Esau's gonna be the devil, and that's that, you know. So that you gotta deal with it.
So that's the reality. if a Jake, unless they're super bugged out, man, pretty much every Jake you can chat to, they understand that racism exists and that white people don't like you, bro. Like that, it's just a matter of what they do with the information after. You got the guys that are gonna bend themselves into a pretzel shape to try and get some love. But then it's like, what, you got, what's her name, Simone Biles? I ain't even looked into it, man. The American gymnast, she dropped out because her mental health was getting messed up or whatever. The people were just cursing around. And that's like, all that, it was like, it's funny because someone said she already won like 13 gold medals, 5 silver, X amount of bronze, whatever. She already brought hella glory to America.
To the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah, to the Star But yeah, she brought all kinds of glory to the Star Spangled Banner, but all that was forgotten at the drop of a hat. Same thing. It's like with England football team, man. The 3 lions, man. Them 3 black sheep on the. Ah, shit. And like, I saw 3. I saw them being 3. I was like, come. I was like, those 3 black ass sheep. The 3 black sheep on what do you call it? On in the England team. Them man what they as soon as they flopped, all that glory they'd loaded up in the league. Bro, football was coming home, everyone was coming, people are hugging in the streets, where there was no racial differences anymore, man. Racism was conquered, we won. And then oh shit.
Niggas have to go fuck y'all, man.
You goddamn black motherfucker.
It was right there, man.
God. There's,
No,
well, yeah.
Yeah, guys.
I was gonna say there's one guy that made a video like English guy.
Or Chunky Mark.
No, MB Vance.
Okay. Oh yeah.
His one, he's just like, why are they talking about way? He's just like, oh yeah, black guy in the pub. He's just saying like, you fucking black monkey. Like, the racism come out as soon as the shit did man miss. It's like, yeah, my pop. I was like, bro, that's what Rick, the flip
energy,
switch
man.
as quick as that. Because why? That shit is that's transitory, man. That shit is a myth. That ain't real. That's just everyone getting excited because they're thinking about some art. Whatever they've been given as their bread and circus. They're thinking, oh, they're gonna receive it. Like they're feeling satisfied about that. They're emotionally latched on to the performance of the team. But then what is it? No, where's the truth in that? Where's the right?
It's coming.
It says what? Verse 3. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Most High, thou knowest. Yeah, that's it. That's the wildness of it as well. Because you think about how you are in the world, you want some dry, the cracked open, no marrow is so dry. Just hollow inside, crusty bone in the world. And the Lord just brought in all forms of moisture and brought that to life, man. So for real, that's why it's kind of wild. Because the way, the state that the Lord can take some man out of, hey, it's legendary. That's why it's come. Everything is down to the Lord, down to the Holy Spirit. It says, again he said unto me, prophesy unto these bones and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith the Most High power unto these bones. Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh on you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above. But there was no breath in them.
Yeah, the skin goes into the identification. So you have even certain camps out there where they have the skin, they have the covering, meaning they know they're the children of Israel. But guess what? They don't have the breath of life. The breath of life being wisdom. Right? Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter goes into that. You got more?
Yeah. before I scratch my phone. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Most High Power, come from the four winds of breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army.
And you gotta remember, the Lord from the beginning told Ezekiel to be able to prophesy. Why did he tell him to prophesy? Why did he tell him just go talk to them and say, why are you dry bones dry? He didn't say that. He said, go and prophesy to these dry bones, alright? And that goes into what? Ezekiel 9:4, alright? It's basically, going out on the highways and byways and speaking this word. And basically, we're seeking for those that sign cry for all the abomination that we've done in the midst of the world. So those that hear the words will basically be awakened and basically take heed. And in them taking heed, that'll bring life upon it. We have to speak the testimony of the outside, which is the spirit of prophecy. Alright? That's the only way they're going to awaken. And on top of that, not that only, but they have to be of the hopeful elect. Or they have to be of the elect hope. Alright?
Then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Most High Power, behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I am Yahweh, that I, Yahweh, have spoken it and performed it, saith the Most High. Yeah, so that's, I got a few reasons just on that. But yeah, it's
After that, do you think I'll go back to Revelation?
but yeah, let me read this. Wisdom of Solomon 5:1. Yeah. I was going to verse 5. Then said the righteous man, then shall the righteous man.
Let me you jump to the gun. Let me read Revelation 11. Because we go into that and then you can get into it. Revelation 11:8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of that great city, alright, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. What city is he talking about? It's talking about America, right? The land of America. How is it known as Sodom and Egypt? Sodom and Gomorrah were known for what? Basically great, sexual immorality, legendary of sexual immorality, right?
Defining the word.
That is for real. The word sodomy, if someone's been sodomized, basically it's an ode to Sodom and Gomorrah, right? So basically, you have that in America, alright? But then also you have Egypt. Why is it known as Egypt? When you take a US dollar, alright, what you actually find is a talisman, alright? Because it has what? All form of witchcraft symbology on it. One of the main ones being of a pyramid on it, alright? And also you have the Washington Monument. Now over here in London, you have the Cleopatra's Needle, alright? Which basically it works in unison with Washington's Monument, alright? The Washington Monument, sorry. So it says, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. How was the Lord crucified? By basically, the word crucified basically is X out, alright? Literally got put up on the cross, but then the crucifixion is talking about in this modern day is basically by Xing out the true image of the Lord. When you go to Revelation, the first chapter, it describes the Lord as being a dark-skinned man, alright, with white woolly hair and bloodshot red eyes. But then when you go to a news forum or anywhere in this world, they're basically going to show you Caesar Borgia, alright? They're going to show you a so-called white image of the one in the world called Jesus Christ, alright? Which is a lie. But that's the fulfillment of what prophecy? Okay, which is, guess what? Part of the testimony of Yahweh Shai, which shows you his word is true. So reading on, it says, verse 9, and they of the people and the kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to put in grave. Yeah, man, they're not gonna suffer them to be put in grave. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. All right, and that's basically what they did. That's why you have unions such as the United Nations. There ain't a seat up there for the children of Israel. Why is that? Because that is that's the prophecy of Psalms 83 being fulfilled. Right, all the nations come together to make the name of Israel to cease upon the earth. Okay. So reading on, it says, verse 11. It says, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. Right? Might as well grab one again. So after 3 days and a half, that really goes into from the time of 1620 to the time when Abyssinians come on the scene in 1970. After Apollo 11 went up to, so-called went up to the moon, and basically fulfilling the prophecy of Obadiah, the first chapter, that's when basically the seal was broken of the children of Israel, and they were awoken, right? You want to grab Wisdom of Solomon 5?
Yeah.
Go on.
Wisdom of Solomon 5 and 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as has afflicted him and have made no account of his labors. Yeah, and that's there's a mention in Revelation that whilst basically Jake was in that destroyed state, everyone was what? He was making merry, they were passing around drinks, they were celebrating the fall and destruction of Israel. Because why? Israel being in that destroyed state, they know that's something that's got to be maintained, or else. Because otherwise, it's Jake is going to run to. Like Jake can't be in their right mind, can't be following after the laws of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai in power. Like, and it goes back to Genesis 27 with the prophecy of Esau with he will live by the sword, man. And by the sword, he will break the yoke off his neck. Because the prophecy was set for Esau anyway. The only way he was basically going to be the servant from when he was born. It was set. That's his only way of basically coming against it, which is what we're in the midst of now. It's still going down, but that's why the fear is going to come. That's why it says the same thing in Revelation. Fear fell on them and saw them. And here it says what?
And that's why they're flagging our videos, starting with the apostles, taking down channels, right? And basically, even now, you have this whole thing with not flagging, well, it's part of flagging, but it's basically you can't say certain words on the YouTube now, right? You mention the MOTB, you mention CV19, you mention these different things, they'll flag up your video and you get strikes for it.
Yeah.
And only taking your channel down, man.
AI is just going to jump on that.
The algorithm.
Annihilate.
Yeah.
And that's something that happened. Something happened over time as well. Because like with the older channels, you were just getting videos from like 5, 6 years ago getting flagged. And it's just like you can't even do anything. It's like if they look through it.
That's it. That's like one of my older videos got flagged quite recently, and it don't fall in line with
the modern
yeah. So that's basically what's happened. Now they've moved this generation of President is basically making it as to where how it was before is going to be of mythical status. Like when someone told you, oh yeah, we used to call each other like way what's the word I'm looking for? Like when you wanna like a proverb, you wanna like call someone a name, like kinda like escape me, that's saying, man. Basically you say like, oh, he's gay, man, or you're gay. Like a bad ill remark to your friend or something like that. Not banter really, it's like calling someone a name or something like that basically. Taking a piss, more or less. You said to like one of your, you said like, oh, back when I was in year 7, I was like 11 years old, someone did something weird, called it gay. You're like, oh, I can't believe it. Because the way everything is today, you have the younger generation, they all basically police, what's that word?
Grammar.
No. It's like the cancel culture, it falls under cancel culture. They're basically policing their friends, they police each other, alright? Where the modern day society is self-editing, that's the best way to put it. If you say something out of term, everyone's gonna jump on you, like, you can't say something like that. And that's the culture of today, alright? Where to the point where it's like George Orwell's 1984, man. If you say anything slightly out of term, man, they don't fit into the modern day agenda, alright? You're basically going to be berated and ostracized by society. And be careful, you might lose your job, you might lose your money, your income, whatever, man. Alright? Just like the debate baby right now. I listened to what you said. You said about the things you said technically, I mean, it is what it is, you know what I mean? But they're gonna be like, well, why are you saying that? Right? They're gonna find a reason to basically say like be happy in life, that you ain't got like AIDS or HIV or anything like that, and you ain't sucking dick in the parking lot or something like that. But it's like, I mean, it's like the most niggerish shit, but it's like where you really find inside the pic. So, and it's like when you reverse. But it's like, so gay people should be allowed to be something in the parking lot. Is that what you're saying?
That's what the Bradbury is about.
So it's like, you know,
that's the thing. It's like with it's gone beyond, because like originally it was just like they're saying, yeah, do that shit over there, still doing that me.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh well, now you should be able to do it whenever. Like, oh well.
Are you
Now
alright?
it's like, okay, well, you know, they should be invited to be doing it every time.
I don't want to go to get my car. Yeah, like beep my car, and then as I sit in my car, I peer out the window. There's a heinous crime before my eyes. I don't want to see that. If two people are having sex on the street, you'll be called indecent exposure. So it's like, you know, this is where it shows you that people are not thinking. They're just willing to jump on the wave.
Yeah, but that, like, all that kind of online backlash, that is just, that's a culture in and of itself. That's a culture in and of itself. It's just making it, like, picking up a fuss. That whole, it's like the mob in ancient Rome, where certain things would happen, the mob gets enraged, and they'll just go through and start ripping niggas limb from limb. And that's something we're going to see going down. Like that's like because online, well, even I say the violence, it's just like with the Black Lives Matter protest, where they're trying to fucking prime Britain, even though they had a lot of those instigators,
Agent
provocateurs, like setting those things off. But that's like people smashing shit up. That became the norm. You're going out to protest, means you're going out to smash some shit up. And that's something that was set is why all those like violence can be utilized in certain ways. But then as well, like when a bunch of cops come around. Yeah. When a bunch of cops come around. Yeah, no, I saw it. That's why I was like, yeah, this guy's possessed. But with what do you call it? But with fucking hell, that guy threw me completely off my train of thought. Actually, Wisdom of Solomon 5 and 2. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all they look for. Yeah, that's it. That's Jake basically being.
The sons of the Most High come to us. The Most High, where have you been? I've been walking to and fro. If you see him, he's walking to me. You see what he's been doing? He's walking there. That's it. Walking to and fro on the earth. Patrolling as a roaring lion. So it's not.
But yeah, that's it. It says what? When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear. Because that's the thing as well. Is when you got, and with Israel coming back together, that's both sides of the house of David coming back as one. And after, from the time of Rehoboam, like Israel had to split. They had the
pronunciation. Yeah, go ahead.
Rehoboam.
No.
That's how the figure said, the audio Bible. Rehoboam. But it's for the time of Rehoboam, it's been split, the northern and southern kingdom, to where it's been split. The tide has gone up the hell up. It's been split, and what do you call it? The Native American Indians and say like the Native Americans and islanders as well, South and Central America as well. Those basically have been like the Northern Kingdom, and then Southern Kingdom was the so-called Negroes, the Jakes on the islands as well, and on the west coast. That's like where the bulk of them have been. But that split has been a thing for the longest, and that's why you're gonna have the two sticks put together as one. Because why? It's that separation. That's that as well. That coming to an end. That also brings about the fear. Because why? Then you got the whole nation coming back, and now it's what when you go to Amos 9 when it's talking about it, it says what? There's the sand of the sea. So you got a absurd number of Israelites now on the face of the earth, where the Lord's been waking up a great amount, and that's gonna bring terror to people on the map. Because why? Really, to the elites, the guys that are in charge, the guys that know the truth of the Bible, that know the prophecies, they're doing everything they can to avert it. That's why they're seeing the videos coming together, all these different things. They're getting worried, they're getting upset, and they're basically doing everything within their power to try and minimize it. Because why? Same thing as in Acts. Once that word starts going out, it's cold, it's a wrap. Because even it's funny because they said, what they say about Yahweh, he's preaching about bringing the end to Rome. And then Rome came to an end anyway, man. They pulled up in there and took that shit over. That's the thing, it's like, Jake, it's a terror onto the heathen. But hey, when it comes to prophecy, those things are set. It's like you try and avert it. It's like even now, you've got a whole mindset, like basically Jakes within society, they've become a significant factor, man. They've basically become having a huge impact on the culture of society. It's like funny with like hip hop, you go back to like the 90s, like early 90s, late 80s, people like that, just like, what the fuck is this shit? And it was people like, oh, it's gonna destroy the kids, blah. Now that shit is mainstream as fuck. Like hip hop is everywhere. Everyone's all into it, man. Little white boys in the countryside listen to it, man. White boys in the Midwest, in the Midwest.
That's like grime as well. Have you seen drill? Have you seen the advert they had? Some kids rapping. And there was another teacher, some white teacher in the classroom. He was barring different. I'm not even lying. I was gonna upload it on my channel. He's barring like the nursery rhymes, man. And the shit was good. And he had everyone like backing his nursery rhyme and everything. But that shows you that these are cultural influences, like, because these are people like that teacher's probably like early 30s. So he grew up around grime. we grew up watching radio
Yeah,
sets.
everyone would listen to it and have known it.
Yeah. And now he's introduced it into the classroom as a form of teaching, basically. But that shows you that's why you even have certain musical influences on TV programs, this type of stuff. And that's really because Jake is becoming part of the family. Jake is left to them. Jake is gonna.
They're gonna. There's too much
The
flavor, man.
It's gonna season everything, man.
Yeah, everything gonna be. Ain't nothing. That's why it's like salt. What dish don't have salt? That's the same thing with everything. I was thinking, even the Simpsons. You go back to the old school Simpsons. It's like, what's Lisa playing, man? She's playing that sax.
The saxophone.
Playing that sweet jazz. The boy, that Jake influence, man.
Well, and that's the thing, because we ain't even got to go as modern as like hip hop culture. Let's go back to rock and roll. Right, rock and roll really is a Jake. Goes back to a Harlem slang, basically meaning about rocking and rolling the beds, having sex with your missus. Alright? But then guess what? That was a fabric that basically gave way to all these different subgenres that were built out of it. Like metal, dark metal, and all this, punk rock and all that type of stuff.
Evolved.
And then over here in the UK, you got reggae that had an influence and then brought about ska. Right? And the slack, it's not slack, it's not the ball, it's something to do with skinhead. See, I was thinking George Skinhead. Brought about the skinhead culture with the Dr. Martens, the rolled up denims, all that type of stuff, the Harrington jackets and all that. But then that built out from ska. You had what did ska evolve into? That evolved into like what's that music called? You fuck with it, man. With the Arctic Monkeys in them, man. Indie music.
Indie rock. Yeah.
Indie rock. That really comes out. If I'm not wrong, it comes out of ska, I believe, as well. So all these cultures came from Jake, man. All right.
It's just been just
dance music.
Taking a run with for a while, like after a while. Man.
Dance music. That comes from Chicago's house, basically. Alright, like garage, UK garage, house. All these things come from Jake, man. But then guess what? They bounce around other arenas for so long. They become part of their culture.
Yeah.
Right? And even like drum and bass, where's that come from? Jungle music. That comes from jungle. But now it's like all the them lot in uni, they all listen to drum and bass, and then they'll believe that it's just this is like our music. It's like nah, niggas are smoking crack, wearing designer clothes, shooting each other in fucking warehouse raves in London, man. Yeah. That's where it comes from. Listening to dub music coupled with like sped up drum beats, man. They had to move it away from the jungle music and the bad rap that jungle had and make it into drum and bass. So these are all things of influence, and then you have the guys you used to listen to as well. What's the band?
Oh,
Pendulum. And that's like a merging of drum and bass with like rock music, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Let's get some scriptures now.
So verse Wisdom of Solomon 5:4. We fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without honor. And that's something you can read in Wisdom of Solomon 2. It's like what? It says what? He professeth out of his mouth that the Most High is his father. Because they're just looking at it like, you guys, because even now, Esau has run with it so long. He's had his little, and it's a little season. It seems long to us, because for us, a 24-hour period, that shit can drag on forever. 24 hours in jail, that shit will be feeling like waiting, I don't know, man. Waiting for the moon to fall down to the earth or some shit, man. Like, that shit will last forever. But then it's like 1,000 years is a day for the Most High. So it's a real little season, the 500 years Esau's had to run. But because he's at that time, he thinks, and everything's gone smooth. Everything's worked. All that he's desired to do, his plans are come about. This guy's got implantable brain devices, FDA approved for one of them has been FDA approved for trials In the US, or like, I think next month, probably by, I think they said August. Either maybe August or September, they're looking to start by. But that's their plans are moving along. Everything seems to be working out. But then what? That just because the plans are working out, just because everything's moving forward, that doesn't then mean that it's all going to work out in your favor in the long run. But that's the thing. It's all about the bounds. Once it hits the bounds, it's a wrap. After that, like, well, what are you saying? Like, what can you do? It says, what? How is he numbered among the children of the Most High, and his lot is among the saints? Therefore have we erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness have not shined unto us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us. Yeah, that's it. It's truth has not been revealed unto you. You've been deceived. And that's the thing. Esau's deceived, but what's it say? It says what? The deceiver and the deceiver is. it's you've been set up, man. He's setting you up. What was I gonna? You got something?
No.
It's just you had a couple. Yeah, there was something I just thought of. That's it. I think that was a lot good. I think that was it. Something up there.
Don't look like it's too heavy.
Yeah. The clouds are kind of thin. I think it's ready. What was that? Okay.
Let me carry on with this.
Yeah, carry on with yours.
I wanted to just read this. Let me actually go to Revelation. Let's go in the midst of Revelations 8 and 13. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound. Now the angel saying whoa, 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 saying whoa 3 times, basically indicates the 3 world wars, alright? So the 3 world wars, we're presently in the midst of, well actually, let me read that.
Okay, before you do that, let me just get this. I found
Okay,
one
go
of
on.
one of the previous.
Yeah, go on.
So Jeremiah 16 and 9. O Most High, my strength. Let me just double check. 'Cause I'm not sure if he's talking about the. Jeremiah 16:19, O Most High, my strength and my fortress, and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, Surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Yeah, it's gonna come to the point where all these different nations are gonna realize all the different, because everyone's right now drunk off Esau, man. They're drunk off that Edomite juice. They're looking at him like he's the son of the Most High. It's like the brother went into. The image being painted over, that's a big factor into it. That's why the images, that's what people are just going to have in their mind, man. That's going to stick. But then what? Everyone's going to realize what? That they inherit lies. Because lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Because that's really what, all that faith in Esau, once it's revealed, Israel is the chosen. All that's gonna be, it's gonna be out the window, man. All these other heathens, they're gonna jump on. They're gonna stick to the winner, man. And that's really what it's gonna come down to. It's gonna be like, hey, look, we were caught up in the BS, and that's why going to what is it? Isaiah 14. It says, "Has thou become weak as we?" And they're gonna be looking like, yo, Esau's so great, and that's really happening. What? That main difference was what? The nuclear technology and nuclear missiles. That was a big point of difference between Esau's nations and other heathens.
Go on, please.
Now they all rapping.
It's Isaiah 45 and 14. It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, the labor of Egypt and merchandise of Ethiopia and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine." Alright? They're going to basically go into slavery under the children of Israel, being today known as the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and also all the children of Israel scattered all over the earth. So reading on it says, "They shall come after thee in chains, they shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, Surely the Most High is in thee, and there is none else, there is no power, no other God," basically. "Verily thou art a power that hidest thyself, O power of Israel, the Savior."
Yeah, it's going to come down to the root. Because that's, right now, it's the time, of sufficient time for prophecies to be happening. There's a time for the men of the Lord to be speaking about what's going to come. Because that's the thing, it's just like with, I was thinking like, earlier, I was like, well, when Noah was prophesying for 100 years, that would have felt like, man would have, in year 99, man would have been thinking, man, this guy is a fucking loon. So this guy is still, I'm like, you're still here talking this shit? I'm like, nigga. This guy's like, I just got a fresh wife. Look at that, bro. What kind is that? I'm having a ruthless side. What are you doing? But that's the thing. And that's like with prophecy. It comes down to what? Until once the action comes, all that